welcome to a Tuesday episode of the 905er Roundup. My name is Roland Tanner.
I am Joel McLeod.
And guess what? A couple of big kind of development-related stories.
Developments on developments.
Yeah, development on developments, that's right. As is so often the case in our region, really big stories are often about development. And, well, the first one is the next step in the Hamilton City Council voted against boundary expansion and to concentrate on intensification, which is, what we've been doing, what governments have been encouraging now for a couple of decades. And MPP Donna Skelly from Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas, I think, had comments on that. Joel, what?
Yeah, she doesn't like Hamilton City Council's decision. Basically, if your listeners will remember back it seems like a lifetime ago, but it really wasn't. It was only a few weeks ago. Hamilton City Council, after much debate in the city, it caused a lot of harsh feelings on either side of the argument over whether or not to expand the urban boundary into the White Belt part of land that surrounds Hamilton up on the mountain. And long story short, the Hamilton City Council listened to some grassroots people who were against it, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to keep the boundary where it is, and we will focus on more intensification in terms of development." Everybody said, "Great, wonderful, hurrah!" And they thought that was that. Except MPP Donna Skelly didn't like that. The Ontario PC government does not like that. Housing Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, says he doesn't like that. And basically, this comes down to they're looking to just say we're going to overturn that decision, which has huge ramifications, I think, for provincial municipal relations on the broader end. And two, it says, I think it sends a message like city councils really don't matter to this government. Local democracy does not matter to these people. And by these people, I mean the Ontario PC party. This is just blatantly saying, no, we're getting our way or the highway, and we'll burn every bridge we have with the municipalities.
So this ties into, and we'll come onto this in more detail in the kind of second part of the episode, but the announced Bill 109, More Homes for Everyone Act that has come out of the Housing Affordability Task Force. Part of that, and basically what the province has now done, highly likely as a result of Hamilton's vote and also Halton's vote to not expand boundaries, is to make a change in the act that allows the minister, on looking at an official plan review or update from a municipality, to put a pause on the ministry's consideration of it and simply throw it to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is the former LPAT, which is the former OMB. So basically, they've now added the ability to review and overturn municipal decisions.
Well, that's what they're now advocating. They've trumped up. They're sending in their only conservative MPP, Donna Skelly, into Hamilton to say, "You all made a bad decision. You need to listen to what Daddy Ford wants to do and do it." And what strikes me, I'll get into the developer relationship with this government in the second half, but what gets me is the sheer throw it back in the face of Hamiltonians. And I think this government just hates Hamilton. I'll be honest. This government will never vote conservative. Maybe the periphery, the Niagara region will vote conservative. Maybe Ancaster will swing between them. But other than that, like Hamilton City proper is never going to vote conservative. And I think that some reason they just hate it. So screw it. We're going to just plow over this region and undo the goodwill.
I'm sure they'll do the same with Halton, though, to be honest. I mean, they want boundary expansion because they want nothing to stand in the way of development. Insofar as this government has pursued any kind of agenda, because mostly it's been like, a buck of beer and license plates and, just nonsense. In terms of actual radical policy agendas that have been pursued consistently and actually achieved anything, it has been get everything out of the way of the developers, let the developers do what they want to do. Now, we're at the point now, and this is not entirely new under the PCs. This was the case under the Liberals too. It would be the case under the NDP. It's not, to the extent it's not a partisan thing, the powers of our municipalities are constantly being eroded. Now, it's local democracy. We vote for things. This vote in Hamilton is one of the most democratically inspired, properly publicly considered democratic decisions that Hamilton Council's probably ever made, because we know there are a bunch of councillors who probably would have in other years and other times voted for expansion, who have been feeling the pressure of the election, feeling the pressure of a very well organised public campaign, and who voted accordingly. That's democracy. You don't get to then second guess that democracy. Say, okay, we're going to change the law to overrule what the municipality and what the public have brought about. It's so infuriating. And the irony here is that when we were talking about first of all, you and I had called it completely with the affordable housing task force, that what they would adopt and what they would ignore, and they ignored the big one and they adopted all the garbage. And then the other sort side of this is whenever we talk about intensification and missing middle housing, things like this, we get into this kind of battle, this NIMBY versus YIMBY thing, which drives me up the wall, because it's like, you know what, whether you're a NIMBY or a YIMBY, you need to start finding common cause with each other, because you've got the same problem, which is when, if the public says we want high rises in our downtown, or if the public says we don't want high rises in our downtown, it doesn't matter, because the province is going to make the decision, not the damn municipality, which is democracy being absolutely thrown in the garbage.
What gets me about this whole, Donna Skelly just strikes me not as a leader of Hamilton, but as a scapegoat, as a lapdog for Doug Ford and the PC party. But what gets me is that she should be going back to her party advocating for the city of Hamilton's decision, because the plan wasn't, the Stop Sprawl Hamilton, this grassroots organization, wasn't an anti-development. It was just anti-expansion into the White Belt. You and I had Nancy Hurst on from the organization to discuss what were they advocating. And the fact was, there was lots of spaces downtown Hamilton that are ripe for redevelopment, for repurposing, for housing, buildings that are in decay that could use, spruce up, reinvestment of money, redesign it into condos, townhomes, whatever the case may be. The city of Hamilton is poised for this mixed density intensification project that the Ford government seemed to want to tiptoe around and kind of engage in. And they could have said, no, we'll use Hamilton to show this is how we're going to do it. See, we're going to keep the flavor of Hamilton. We're going to preserve the nature of the buildings and provide housing for people who need it at an affordable rate. Great. Wonderful. That would be great. Put tons of stuff on the market, bring down price. That's what Donna Skelly should have been advocating in caucus. Instead, she decided to basically take away her backbone and just do whatever the party said. And the party does not care about the challenges that are with housing. I really don't. I think this shows, and we'll get into this later on in the episode, but there are challenges to this. And building more housing is more than just saying, oh, we need to build. Like you need to rethink, how are we going to do this? And that's the problem here, is that this doesn't show this is the challenge. We're going to tackle it. We're going to develop new styles of housing to accommodate this challenge that we have. Instead, it's let's just build into the White Belt. That's the easiest thing we can do, right? Let's just build another subdivision. Let's just build another strip mall. Let's just build another whatever into this prime agricultural land. And we say, well, isn't this just how we got here in the first place? Isn't this how we got into this problem in the past? Is that we just paved over paradise, put up a parking lot. Joni Mitchell, don't sue me. That's like ultimately this government isn't trying to solve the problem. It's just let's kick the can down the road. And I'm going to bring in the politics back. Donna Skelly should have either, she's not bright enough to realize this is what we should do. Let's just go for the easiest solution?
I mean, she's been sent in. I mean, let's face it, she's been sent in. She's been told to make an announcement. She's been as the closest thing to a Hamilton MPP. I said she was Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas. She's not actually. She's Flamborough Glanbrook. She the reason I thought that is because she ran against Ted McMeekin in the former riding, which was I can't remember what it was called, but Ancaster blah blah blah. But yeah, she's actually MP for Flamborough Glanbrook, which is almost a completely rural riding that surrounds Hamilton, and obviously is included in the single tier municipality, but is not, the well, I mean, it could affect her it could very well affect her electability on the basis that she's basically voting or basically calling for her own rural parts of her riding to be built on, because that's where the white belt is. But it's insulting. It's insulting. But yeah, there we are. I mean, and the thing is that the province is not saying white belt or downtown. It's saying white belt and downtown, and basically that's just the previous provincial government, turned the emphasis away from sprawl towards intensification, which was the right thing to do. It was absolutely the right thing to do, with the Places to Grow Act back in, 2006, something like that. And that's been the basis of policy ever since. And all the province is doing now is just releasing the brake on the sprawl part of things that the Liberals put on, to just let it go. If there's white space, build on it. And it's so counterproductive. And ultimately, the biggest thing of all is we got to stop treating municipal local democracy as something that's disposable and optional. It's essential. Now, we spend a lot of our time on this podcast complaining about councillors. Well, you know what? Part of the reason you get crappy, awful councillors is because it's such a crummy job. It's meant to be about planning and vision for the municipality. In every city, that planning and vision aspect of the job is a nonsense, because whatever they do gets trashed at every turn, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And councils vary because, again, that's democracy. In no other walk of life do we say we have a democratically elected government that's doing something, and we're just going to ignore that and overthrow them. We call those coups d'etats, But somehow in municipal government, it's like, well, we don't, they're just doing what the public want them to do. How dare they? Therefore, we're going to overturn that. It's like, no, that's democracy. You don't get to overturn it.
Here's the problem, Roland. Municipalities are not, they are not actual constitutionally protected entities. They have no clear division of power. They're an agency of the province, and that's ultimately that's how this government is treating you. They're like, you're a department of the province. Do what we tell you to do, and stop getting uppity.
It really needs to, and yeah, it's a huge problem. And it's a problem with no solution, because it is built right into the Constitution by the founding fathers of the nation in the British North America Act, or whichever one it was, in 1867. Testing my Canadian history here. Glad I got that one right. The municipalities are creatures of the province. They are, basically Hamilton City Hall is basically just an offshoot, a sub-department within the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. And yeah, that's absolutely right. And that is a massive fundamental problem with the way our system works. And then added to that is the weak mayor system, where, again, which fits into that kind of way of looking at things. That the people who work at the city hall, they're basically civil servants working for the Department of for the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and the councillors are just kind of like a board of trustees, just like the police services board, or just like school trustees. And have very limited power. It's a facade of local democracy. It's not local democracy. And I think for many years it was allowed to act more like genuine local democracy. But as the regions grow and become more populous, and as the decisions that they're making become more important.
But here's the problem: is that we've said this. The 905 is one of the most important regions in the province and the country. This is why we have so many people living here. Municipalities are becoming more powerful because the population, they have more people that they're accountable for. And they're saying, well, listen, if I'm going to have 800,000 or 1 million people calling me up and say, hey, what are you doing? I want to be able to have the power to back it up. Other governments try to respect that democratic institution, that democratic ideal. Not perfectly, but I think they try to. The problem with this government is that it views democracy as a barrier to getting its way. Like the fact that Hamilton democratically made a decision, they may not like it. We can say it's a bad decision. Fair enough. However, it was democratically made, and this provincial government is saying, we don't like it. We're overturning it. Your opinion does not matter. And I think I'm going to close off this section by saying to our listeners, you should be very upset and very scared of what this government is going to do if they're going to willing to overturn a democratic decision just on a whim because they didn't get the answer that they wanted.
Okay, and welcome back to part 2 of the podcast, and let's talk about some more development-related issues. We've already mentioned it to a degree already, but we've talked in previous episodes about the Housing Affordability Task Force. We spoke to the mayor of Newmarket a couple of weeks ago about his take on the recommendations, and both you and I and he both said about the kind of key central recommendation in that Affordability Task Force report. That ain't getting to legislation anytime soon. Don't even worry about it. As stated, it would be problematic, although not. It's a very good principle that was outlined in very
remind our listeners what the principle was.
Yeah, the principle. The principle was to allow what's called gentle density, or more gentle density, in single family home neighborhoods, and their recommendation was for as of right. Was it 4 or 8 story? I think it was 4 stories in all single family home neighborhoods. So across the province, complete, that would be as of right. So when we say something is as of right within a municipality in terms of planning, it means that a builder, if you put in a proposal to the city to build something and it's up to 4 stories, the city cannot say no. End of story. There's no need for variances. There's no need for anything. You've got it. It's going to be a yes. So every single street that is currently single family homes. Now, there is a lot of good within, that is not, don't want people thinking, because, we've had some criticism for our kind of criticism of this proposal. I don't want people thinking that gentle density is something we oppose. Absolutely not. Missing middle housing, gentle density, these are really important principles, and they are principles that we should be adopting. However, this kind of flat across the board approach was just asking for trouble, and because no government's going to implement it, particularly in an election year. So what do we have got in the Bill 109, which is what are they calling it now? The Let's Build More Houses Everywhere Act or something like that.
Pretty much, yeah. More Housing for Everyone Act.
Yeah. Of course, that proposal is dead in the water, is not included. What we have instead is measures that basically will see more and more stuff referred to the OLT, which
they'll give the OLT will have the power basically just say no. Or
yeah. I mean, the biggest drag on development in this province, the thing that stops everything for years on end, are OLT appeals. That's the delay in the system. Like something that goes through and is approved as of right can go through very quickly through the whole council process and get approval. It can be built. Doesn't take, in the big scheme of things, in government perspectives, doesn't take that long. The minute it goes to OLT, now you're looking at years and years of backwards and forwards, of trying to get deals with the municipality, of the OLT finally making a decision, and the OLT is already overloaded. So the criticism that I would certainly have is the minute when you're basically using the OLT as the tool by which the municipalities get overruled at every stage, you're actually slowing things down, not speeding them up. If you're looking at more affordable housing or more housing in general.
What gets me is that this act isn't so much going to. It seems to be saying, yeah, we're going to be there's going to be fights because of this. Like it's not about streamlining a way for development or housing to be built. It's we're going to go pick a fight and we're just going to determine this is how the fight is going to be solved, right? We're just going to know it's all going to go to the OLT, and the OLT will just say, okay, they're just going to rig it so that it goes in favor of a developer. Because I mean, there's things in here, the municipality only has 90 days to decide, and they start losing the fees and whatnot. The idea is, let's just bombard the municipalities with planning proposal after planning proposal, and not give people. And a city council will say, well, we want to do our due diligence, do a town hall so people can chime in with what they think about a proposal. And can you do that in 90 days? Not really. I don't think you can't really have the proposal come in, really evaluate it. Does this fit into our criteria? And a councillor says, well, I want to do a town hall to my constituents to see what they think about it. This doesn't work. It's basically you have 90 days to find any fault at all with it and send it back. And even so, okay, now we dispute it. We're going to send it to OLT and have it bounce around. Like they know that they're going to be picking fights with municipalities. This is the pick more fights with municipalities act. It's what I think it is. And
I mean, I'm not sure if it picks fights or just sidelines.
Well, it's going to. But think about it. How many? If I was a developer and I want to build, I want to carve up Main Street. I want to build more high rise condos, or I want to build more subdivisions. Yeah, I'm just going to put in my application. You have 90 days to refute it. If I have 20 applications to a city, how good of a job is the city going to be able to sit down and say, let's look at these proposals?
Oh, yeah, well,
do they fit?
Yeah. I mean, they fit.
They couldn't before, and that's the thing. This government knows that they can't keep up with it. So if I was a developer, I'm just saying, "Fuck it, I'm just going to throw as many applications as I can into a city office." They have 90 days to refute it. Are they going to find the most logical? Maybe they catch one or two that actually say, "Hey, we actually have a problem here." My bet is most of them are going to say, we can't keep up, and that's just one developer talking. Forget all the other developers who are doing the same thing, buying up land and sending in proposals to develop it.
Yeah, I mean, to do the job that they're meant to do in municipal planning offices, you'd be looking at a significant tax increase just to pay for the number of planners you need to hire to do the job that they're actually legislated to do, which then gets overruled anyway.
Well, that's what this government's all about. It's something we've talked about. It's like clearly they're in the pocket of big development of the developers. That is their bread and butter in this leading up to this election. That's how they won the last election. And I think these developers are coming back saying, "Hey, we gave you Ontario. We're expecting big returns." The developing industry is coming in and saying, "Hey, we want pressure to get certain things. We want our plans to be the priority of the province," and they are now. What gets me is that this isn't a sustainable system. We're going to create problems down the road because here's the thing: governments do not last forever. This government will eventually be turfed out. Maybe not the next election, but eventually it will be. And my bet is a priority will be coming along to say, no, we're going to end this. We're going to reverse decisions. We're going to change the rules. We're going to make it more difficult to build. And that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not about what's proper for the province, what's necessary. It's politically what's expedient. If you have developers coming in just building high rises, or we're going to build a subdivision, we're going to plow this land, we're going to do that. You're just going to tick off people. They mobilize. They elect a different government. That government says, well, I got elected because I had to make a promise saying I'm going to stop development or whatever. And we're right back where we started with this yin-yang, all or nothing approach. Well, that's what I was saying. I was trying to say the previous part was that we need leaders who stop this all or nothing argument. We know we need more development. We're not debating that. The question is what kind of development. And right now, this act pretty much is saying no. And the attitude from the previous part of the story with Donna Skelly saying, hey, let's pave for the white belt is we're not talking about redesigning our cities to look for the 21st century model. Gentle density, more density, more people living together. It's easier for developers to just build sprawl. Let's give them sprawl. Let's not actually innovate and create new cities. It's just, let's go with the cookie cutter approach we did in the past because that was easiest and we know how to push that forward. We don't have leadership coming in saying we need a compromise. We have the people who are anti high rise, okay, and the pro developers say you got to give something here. You got to give something on both sides if you want to move forward at all. And right now I don't see that. We're having the debate right now in this province is all or nothing. We need single detached family homes or nothing. That's it. There's nothing else on the table that we can say, I'm okay with that. Maybe take a little bit of that, throw that in. It's either we have single family homes or 30-story condo towers. That's it. There is no room for a middle ground right now in this province, and that's going to lead us into a problem.
Yeah, and I always come back to the democratic side. That if we believe in democracy, I remember saying this when 4 years ago at a council meeting. If you believe in democracy as a society, we need to trust it to make the right decisions, because that's basically democracy is that. We say, on the whole, the population, the people, will ultimately make the right decision, and you know what? They won't always, but in the generality, they will move in the right direction. And we just don't do that when it comes to municipal government in this province. And we're running kind of short on time, but I just want to address some of the comments that have been made by the different party leaders on this, because I think it's interesting what they said. So Stephen Del Duca. Predictably, the party leaders criticised the bill because, of course, they will, and so they should. Not having a go at that. Del Duca said Ford has only made the problem worse, and I'm quoting here from the article in the Star from last week. Problem worse because there's nothing for first-time home buyers, no rent control, and no zoning reforms. Now, zoning reforms, yeah, interesting, and that covers an awful lot of ground. Those two words: first-time home buyers and no rent control. Those are not things that are going to solve an affordability crisis. Those are things directed at trying to win voters. First-time home buyers, yeah, of course, no one can afford, especially young people can't afford to buy. But, if you're talking about kind of throwing money at first-time home buyers, that's not going to solve anything. Rent control has, for decades, depressed any interest in building rental accommodation, so I don't see how that is a fix for anything. And in the case, we still have rent control. And then we've got Horvath saying, what was her criticism? Basically blaming everybody from overseas for speculating in property. Well, yeah, that is a problem. It's not the problem. And then actually Mike Moffat makes, I should also mention Mike Schreiner was critical. He's more general, just says poorly built amateur plan. Fair enough. It doesn't really give any alternative proposal, and these are very short quotes, so I'm not being entirely fair. But I think it's interesting that when you're going for sound bites, what do they reach for? Well, they don't reach for we need to honor local democracy, or we need to build massive government-supported affordable housing projects. They go for rent control and overseas buyers. And Mike Moffat, who we've had on the podcast twice over the months, makes a really good point, which is real estate prices are going up virtually all across the Western world. You can't tell me, this is a quote, you can't tell me that every country and region has issues with supply, he said. And of course, this is the Conservatives, therefore everything they do is about supply side, about the private sector providing. And yeah, he's right. This is a problem across the Western world. It can't be about Ontario municipalities when it's the same problem in London, UK, or Cleveland, or wherever. It's something else. We sure it would be nice if someone acknowledged that we're part of a larger world and not just this kind of small, parochial almost place.
That's where it comes down to how this government has approached a lot of things. It doesn't look, these things are this problem is very complex. I think supply is part of it, but there are also other things of incentivizing more rental accommodations. There's incentivizing social housing for low income people. Like there is no one silver bullet to fix this problem. Is what my point is I'm trying to make here. And coming back to the housing task force report, you and I had a criticism of like there was no broad section of housing. Like there's no center for rights in housing coming in. There's no social housing models that were being evaluated. Nothing of that matter. And it was just basically geared towards, no, we just need to build more housing. We just need to build more stuff. That's it. That will solve our problem. I don't think it will, because right now this government isn't looking at building more housing. It's looking at building more single family homes, which is a difference. To the argument of, this is what the market wants. No, this is what the market is providing. In our current market, you only have two options: a gigantic, sprawling, multi-million-dollar single family home that is probably too big for most families, but you can get a lot of money on that, or a tiny, cramped couple, maybe two bedroom condo in downtown Toronto. Those are really your two options. There's no plethora of market options to say, well, this is what my family needs right now. We'll buy here, we'll move. It kind of shows like the market is not providing solutions right now. The market solutions are not going to fix this problem. We need a comprehensive rethink of how we build our cities, which and again, going back to Hamilton, I'll give it credit. They kind of were walking down that path of, hey, we've got all these vacant lands, derelict buildings, old parking lots in downtown Hamilton. Let's repurpose them into modern housing. And that takes time. That's the thing. It's like this is a project that does not happen overnight. You can build a subdivision in a couple months and then sell them all off. But to go in and say, let's rebuild a lot of downtown into accessible, affordable units, that takes a little bit of time, a little bit of care, and a little bit of creativity. And I don't think I'll be honest, I don't think the private sector has the interest in that route. And
we can use an example from Burlington that there are, there's one, I won't mention the name, there's one big development in downtown Burlington that was approved 5, maybe getting on for 6 years ago. Currently the foundations are in the ground. I think it's not risen above sort of ground level. I mean, foundations on these buildings are pretty deep, so they take time. So that's 6 years. I mean, that's not the province. That's not the municipality. The municipality lost its battle a long time ago, and the developers behind that building have just told all the buyers who bought their properties, which were meant to be, I remember, were kind of broadcast as being, especially affordable, at something close to $1 million a few years ago. They've all just been told that they need to cough up a whole bunch more money now because the prices have changed and interest rates have gone up and blah, blah, blah. So, far from having bought something as they thought they have actually not bought anything. They've just put a deposit down on something. If I was one of those buyers, I'd be very annoyed right now. But I mean, the point I'm making here is that for all the stuff about, the delays getting in the way, that's the developer who hasn't built the damn building. And I could point to multiple other examples of that where they take their sweet time after, there's a building just cut. Well, new hotel, the new hotel in Burlington was approved in a different century, and it's only just been finished.
Let's face it. We don't. This is about giving private sector what they want, which is the theme of this government. I don't know I think the solution needs more inventive. Like, this act is clearly geared towards just giving developers what they want. To really solve the problem, we need more innovative and more thought-provoking solutions, which this government does not seem to want to endeavor on. And in the meantime, you're right. I don't think this is going to solve the problem. We're not going to see housing prices stabilize. We're just going to see them go up. Because why not? Why would dumping the development on us, there'll be another excuse to raise fees more. It's a short-sighted solution to a much more complex problem. And in the end, I think Ontarians and those of us in the 905 are going to be the ones bearing the cost of that, which is a very sad state of affairs. And that's all I have to say on that.
Well, that's probably a very good place to wrap it up for today. I will resist the temptation that I so often fall foul of carrying on talking for another 5 minutes and let Joel have the final word. And thanks very much to everybody for listening to us today. We'll be back on Thursday with our regular interview. And thanks once again for listening to the 905er podcast.
That's it for this episode of the 905er. Thank you for listening. As always, you can send us your feedback, thoughts, and concerns or ideas for future episodes to our email, info@905er.ca. We'd love to hear from you. You can help us keep the 905er going by financially supporting us through Patreon as well as PayPal. Visit us at 905er.ca and click on the support tab. As well, links are in the show notes for your convenience. Lastly, you can find us on social media. Search for _905er on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So long for now. See you next time.
Looking to make the most out of this life and optimize your personal wellness? Then check out the Natural Man Podcast. Join me, host Mike C., as we explore all areas of human wellness, physical, mental, and emotional. Learn strategies to optimize your own well-being and be in the driver's seat of your own health. Remember, your doctor works for you. Learn biohacks, neurohacks, ways to improve sleep, and ways to optimize your body and your mind. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, the Fountain app, and at naturalmanpodcast.com.